Hi, in this video, I'm going to introduce the JavaScript mouse events to you. So JavaScript mouse events is the events or the function that will be called on various mouse events. So in my example, I will demonstrate when we mouse over on the topic title Three Little Pigs, our page will have a bigger font for the title. So it works like this. When I hover on it, the text becomes larger, and when I leave it, the text will remain to the original size. So let's start. So now go back to our HTML file. Remember last time we introduced the JavaScript function, and we successfully update the time every single second. So this time we want to update the header, the font size of the header every time we hover on it. So remember, the first thing first is we add an ID, so we can use JavaScript function getElementById to access the HTML elements that we want to change. So let us give an ID called header title. And then for JavaScript events, JavaScript provide two different mouse events that can be added into the HTML attribute. The first one is called onMouseOver. onMouseOver. So onMouseOver is an HTML attribute that when the mouse is over that means highlight or hover on the element H1, Three Little Pigs, it will call a certain function. So we want to call the function enlarge text when the mouse is over the H1 element. And then the second one is onMouseLeave. So when the mouse leave from the H1, from the element header title, we also want to call another function that will diminish the text. So we learned about a function last time. So in order to create a function, we need a keyword called a function, and then the name of the function that we want to call, enlarge text, the parameters, and then a curly bracket for things, for lines, for code that will be executed. So when we call enlarge text, the first thing is we want to get back the element with ID header title first, right? So let's create a variable called the title element, and then equals get element by ID, give the ID of the element header title. See, we need to have a perfect match, otherwise we will get a wrong element. So after we get the title element, we want the title element have a style, so we do a dot style, and then dot font size to be larger, right? We want it to be larger, say 48 pixels. So this is actually a CSS. So we are modifying the title element with style font size equals 48. So now if we save it, go back to the page, we hit a refresh. Remember to hit a refresh and make sure this file is the one you are modifying. So when we hover on the title, on mouse over events will be triggered, and then the style of the H1 will be changed. But right now the problem is that when we leave, the text the font size is still so big. So how can we change it back to the original font size? So remember, we have another event called onMouseLift, and it is going to call a function diminish text. So we have to implement diminish text. So we do a function keyword, the name of the function, the parameters passing in, and then the curly bracket to enclose all the things that we need. So let's copy and paste these two lines. If we diminish the text, we only need to get back the title elements and then set the font size to smaller, maybe smaller than 48. Let's do 32 because H1 is of 32 pixels. So when we leave the mouse, the mouse leave the text, we will set it back to 32. So we save it, go back, hit a refresh. We try hovering it and then leaving it, hovering it, leaving it, hovering it, leaving it. Okay, so now we successfully use JavaScript events to interact with the CSS of an HTML element. So in the next video, I'm going to introduce another way for us to interact with the CSS of the HTML elements. So see you next time.